no matter how big you guys get, you should just hang up on people no matter what.
Right.
Even if you and pretend and pretend you're having technical.
You're listening to Nothing Important. Please enjoy the show.
That's great. That works.
I was clicking around the old Facebook today,
Yeah.
and I come across this article, and it's like top 20 players to target for your fantasy football team.
Sounds
And I was like,
sounds homoerotic already. Go for it.
well, you know, I love me some fantasy football. And so I click it, and not only is it a very generic, mediocre list of the same top 20 players you'll see in any list of fantasy football players, everything you clicked was an ad. You had to click to start it, and that was an ad. You had to click to go to the next page, and that was an ad. All the ads on there have arrows pointing over, so you'll click them to think you're going to the next page.
Oh, that's bullshit, dude.
This is hyper annoying to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Those ads
bitches.
are tricky as fuck, dude. Like, they're just getting so sneaky with that shit. You're talking about the clickbait, right?
Yeah, like everything that's like, number 7 will shock you. What happened next blew my mind.
Yeah, no, it's always dumb shit like trainers hate them, or like 16 celebrities that gave up their firstborn child. Number 17 will shock you. It's like nobody gives a fuck about that shit.
Number 5 is so true.
Yeah.
20 things your boyfriend wants you to do in bed. Number 7 will blow his mind.
See, the thing about it, the thing I hate about that stuff is like, I'll look at it and I'll know what it is, but every once in a while it'll still get me. Like I'll still be like,
that's happened today.
That's totally an advertisement for some shitty site like BuzzFeed, but you know what? Maybe I do want to see like the 27 best like hand carved guitars. Like, and maybe number 10 will amaze me.
Well, yeah, like I'll always click on, fantasy football stuff. I want to see what people have to say about players, but it's just like, Jimmy Graham. Yeah, no shit. Like, I thought you were going to give me some sleepers or, be insightful, but nope, you just want me to click on shit.
Right, yeah.
And everything's a fucking ad, and your ads look like they're part of the page.
Right, totally, yeah. Another one that I always like at first, my first instinct is to click on, it'll say, banks hate this new strategy to pay off your mortgage. And I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. But then I'm like, wait a minute. Like, there's only one way to really fucking pay off your mortgage. Like there's no real new strategy.
Live below your means and save money.
Right, and you can totally tell it's just some shitty article written by somebody somewhere just to gain hits because it's like the most common sense thing. It's like, banks hate this newfound idea of how to pay off your mortgage in less time. And then when you click on the article, it's literally like, pay more every month than you normally do. Like, that's it.
The bank will hate that.
Right. Yeah. Bankers hate Bankers hate them.
Banker.
You know what? You know what I've kind of gotten really good at doing lately?
What is that, Brian?
I've become like a really good offensive driver, and it cracks me up.
Yeah, I did that when I was spending a lot more time in the city and in LA.
Right.
You kind of learn how to.
Right. Well,
you just have to get to the point where you understand the other car doesn't want to get hit either.
Right. Like the thing is living up here in Chicago, there are ramps like coming down Lake Street going on to 90-94. There are ramps that are super steep and literally about 10 car lengths long. And once you get down to the street level, there's no entryway. It's just basically you're in the lane. Like, so once you come off the bridge, there's no merge platform, no merge ramp. It's just like, you're off the bridge.
Welcome to the highway.
Yeah. And I always tell people, I'm like, when you're on that, just fucking keep going. Like, don't try to stop. Don't try to yield to the cars on the highway. Just fucking go. Right. And that's the only way that it seems like counterintuitive, right? Like, because it seems like if I keep going and I don't pause for traffic, I'm going to get hit. But it's not at all. Like, you just keep going. You go down the ramp at 30 miles per hour and you just go, and somehow by, amazement of the universe or wonderment of the universe or whatever, it all just kind of works out. So,
well, learn how to accelerate off a ramp, and just that's my thing is get up to speed. Be at speed when you hit the road, if at all possible.
Right.
And people get out of the way.
But I think where I've come from is I went from aggressive driver to alpha driver. And I've even started doing it in situations where it doesn't even warrant it. For example, like for example, drive-through at McDonald's. Okay. First off, and I say this every time I bring up McDonald's because there's at least like 100 people listening to this. So it's like, oh my God, I never eat at McDonald's. Shut the fuck up. You go to McDonald's. But I love McDonald's tea. I don't know, for everything that they do, that's not exactly the best quality. Their iced tea, not sweet tea. Can't do the sweet tea. But the iced tea, I love the iced tea. I will literally, when I go to work every day, the McDonald's next to my work knows that when I pull up, I'm just going to get 2 unsweet teas from McDonald's because I don't want to have to go back and get the second tea by 10 o'clock when I finish my first tea, right? But at least you're not getting your teas from Taco Bell. Right, like I'm planning ahead. That's why where I work, I'm the boss. I plan ahead, right? my ability to order 2 unsweet teas has somehow transferred into a management position. So, but every McDonald's now has 2 drive-thrus. And right. Some of them have the dual lanes, but up here in the city where there's nowhere to expand, a lot of them have just moved the original drive-through speaker up a couple car lengths and then stuck another drive-through speaker back a couple car lengths. So it's the same lane, but it still has the ability to have 2 drive-through speakers.
Okay.
Right? So
I never really found the ordering process to be the hang up in drive-through backups. I mean, I don't really understand the multiple ordering. You're just funneling a bottleneck to the one window. Now, if they had 2 windows handing food out.
No, here's the things that hold up drive-throughs. People that still somehow don't know the menu to fucking McDonald's, and assholes who don't open the window, they open the fucking door to order. I fucking hate those people. It's like, why? Like, just fuck. If it's gonna cost you $50 to get your fucking window fixed, like, stop eating at the drive-through for a few minutes.
Well, I was gonna say, if I have to open my door, I'm getting out of the car, so you might as well just walk in.
Dude, that shit happens all the time here in Chicago. I don't know what it is, but people will pull up to the drive-through speaker and they'll, they have to get like a good 5-6 feet away so they can open their door. And these are like new cars, so it's not all like old 88 Cutlasses. Like, I've seen people.
Well, actually, the new cars are the ones with the windows fuck up the most. Ask my brother about that. He had a 2005 that he had to get the window fixed 4 times.
Well, you know what? Then these people need to fix that shit because it's stupid. It's stupid to park 6 feet away, open the door, and lean almost like you'll put 1 foot out to brace yourself as you lean into the speaker so you can yell your order. You're, like you said, you're already fucking halfway out of the goddamn car anyway.
Yeah, you're just the way to say that. It's funny to me. You're getting out of your car to use the drive-thru.
Right, you might as well walk through the fucking drive-thru. You might as well save gas and push your car through the fucking drive-thru. But I really love the people that instead of rolling down their window, open their fucking door, order their food, and then when they pull around to the window, they accidentally get too close to the building, so then they have to either back up or go forward and get out of their car and walk to the goddamn window anyway.
So, now you've left your car twice for the convenience of staying in your car.
Right. So anyway, the double stack position, right? There's only one lane, but there's two two order
things.
System speakers. I love being in the second position because I've kind of taken this weird pleasure in pulling around the car in front of me. Because, like I said, I almost always at McDonald's just get a tea. So I pull up, like, hey, can I get your order? Yeah. Iced tea, unsweet iced tea. Perfect. That'll be $1.19. Wonderful. But there's always an asshole in my way. And I always think it's funny just to pull around them, just to watch the look on their face like, wow, what a fucking dickhead.
And you know they're watching you.
Right.
So all they're going to see you get handed is one iced tea. Drive off. And that asshole couldn't wait for one fucking iced tea.
Right? See? Alpha driver. When it comes to McDonald's, I win that shit. But here's my crowning achievement. Here's my crowning achievement of alpha driving so far. Okay?
Shoot.
So recently I went to Tennessee. My dad retired, and we had a retirement party down in Tennessee for him. We rented like a giant fucking log cabin. I'd like to say out in the middle of the woods, but it was like down in like downtown Gatlinburg. So there's like touristy shit everywhere, like arcades and like bungee jumping and go-karts. So it wasn't like we were in the, you're in the mountains, but it's not like you're like in the wilderness, right? So we
it's like Branson in the mountains.
It's like what a campground is to when you go pitch a tent in the woods. You know what I mean? It's like it's a cabin, so it makes like city people like me feel like they're actually in the wilderness, but you're not at all because you can cross the street and go to a fucking Panera. So
right.
So we go down there, and on the way back, my wife and I have a little extra time before we both have to go back to work. And we're like, well, fuck it. We'll just go up through Indiana from Tennessee to Chicago. We'll go up through Indiana. We'll stop at this amusement park on the day that we're headed home. We go to the amusement park, spend 4 or 5 hours. It's only about 3 more hours to get back to Chicago. And as we're driving, traffic stops. And what had happened was the bridge on I-65 in Indiana had to go under emergency repair because I guess the construction workers were repairing something minor, and then the bridge started swaying. So they shut down the highway. So we were sitting there for an hour trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. And there's like a map called Waze where it's like social media, but for driving. It does.
Yeah, you check in.
Yeah, and you could like
you report to it, and it's all just user input on what's happening.
Right, and I'm like messaging people like up the road, like where it shows the roadblock starts, like what the fuck's going on up there? And they're like, dude, bridge is closed, going to be closed for 12 hours. And I'm like, oh, I am not fucking sitting in this bullshit for 12 hours. But at this point, traffic is still kind of creeping. So I'm like, okay, well, there's an exit just up the way. We'll get off on that exit. And we'll try to find a way to back around, right? So traffic is slowly crawling. And of course, I have 2 kids. They're starting to get irritable. It's hotter than hell. They're crying. And I see people start heading up the shoulder. So I'm like, yeah, you know what? I've never driven on the shoulder before. Fuck it. I'm going on the shoulder. So I go around the fucking stupid Aztec in front of me. And the car in front of him is like a big box truck. Maybe it was I think it was like... what's that moving company? Like 2 men and a bitch moving or something like that? Like two
men in a truck?
Yeah, 2 guys in a truck or 2 dudes in a truck. And so that guy's going to be a hero, and he's really going to take a stand. So he pulls all the way over in the shoulder to block me from passing. Right? And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, fair enough. I guess he got me, right? He got me, so whatever. So I pull back into my lane, and now somehow I'm getting separated from him, but he stays in the lane, and now he's blocking an additional lane of people driving up the shoulder, right? So now on this 2-lane highway, it's essentially 3 lanes wide because it's like the 2 normal lanes and a lane of people on the shoulder stopped by this guy in this box truck. So I'm like, all right, well, that guy thinks he's a hero. I'm going to out-alpha him. So I just wedged my car up to his driver's side and kept his ass in the shoulder and started waving people past us. And the dude was like screaming out his window. And eventually, as I'm like driving and just kind of laughing, because, I can hear him yelling at me because we're only a few feet apart. Eventually, I look back and he's like 20 cars back. Because he thought that because he went over and blocked the shoulder that other people were going to be respectful and be like, oh, that guy's being a cool guy and not letting anybody cut the line. And then, no, It just took a guy like me just to like basically pin him in the shoulder and wave everybody past so he got screwed over. So
I tried to be that guy once.
What, you're that guy that like pulls into the open lanes and...
I thought about it once. I was sitting in traffic, and like 3 or 4 cars had passed down the shoulder, and I saw one coming from way back, and I was like, you know what, fuck this. I was like, he can wait like everybody else. So I put like half my car on the shoulder, and then I was like, I kind of bitched out, and I was like, well, you know what? Whatever. If he wants to do it, he can do it.
Yeah, he just wants it more, man.
It was a cop responding to the scene.
No. Look at that asshole in his fancy car with his bullshit fancy lights. Thinks he's better than me.
Well, his lights weren't on. That's why I was just like, thought it was just another car coming up because I'd seen 3 or 4 pass.
Yeah.
And no, I almost blocked a cop from getting to the scene, but thank God I stopped myself.
Awesome. This episode of Nothing Important is actually also, I was thinking, kind of like a simulcast. You know how affiliated TV, when something happens, they'll do like a simulcast. Like there'll be some major announcement, say like a sports star retiring, and ESPN and ABC, since they're both owned by Disney, they'll like simulcast the news conference. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what we're doing with this week's episode of It's Saul Goodman and Nothing Important.
That is exactly what we're doing.
Right, because if you think about it, like, right, there will probably be Nothing Important. There will be like the Nothing Important theme song, and then probably a conversation, and probably this explaining it, and then we're going right into the interview with Mel Rodriguez, who was a super cool dude.
He was
awesome guy, right? Like
a very, very, very cool dude. Yeah,
yeah. He's on. He plays Todd on Last Man on Earth, and he played Marco in Better Call Saul, and he was cool enough to come on our show through a courtesy to It's Saul Goodman, which is our other podcast. So if you haven't heard it, www.itssaulgoodman.com. It's also available on iTunes. Make sure that you check it out, because awesome conversation. He played a really small part, but like such...
It was a small yet, but a very, very influential part. Integral.
Yeah, it was like a small part, but a super large character.
Yeah. And he's got fans. There's fans of the character.
Yeah, he's got his own thing going on. So I hope he returns for Better Call Saul season 2. So stick around after Dave's book of things he doesn't care about. And it'll be our chat with Mel Rodriguez from Better Call Saul and The Last Man on Earth.
I was going to say, maybe I can patch this in. I thought it was awesome that you put me in charge of the phone call for the first time.
Yeah.
And I failed pretty miserably.
Well, no, you didn't.
The first thing was I run my phone through the computer, and I listened to everything on the phone through my headphones. I had the headphones in the wrong port, so every time I went to listen when he was calling, I couldn't hear anything. So I had to hang up on him, and when he first called, I wasn't quite ready yet. And he said that those difficulties and the hanging up and stuff was actually kind of what made it a good interview, because it takes all like the pretentiousness out of it, or the seriousness out of it.
Well, I think I could totally see that, because one thing I never wanted to do, when we started this, we didn't think Nothing Important, first off, would ever have any real guest on it besides our friends. Remember how excited I was when I called you that Greg Johnson, the co-creator of Toe Jam and Earl, agreed to be on our show?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I was excited just because, one, it was a guest that wasn't going to be one of our friends, and two, he's just a really kick-ass dude and created a really fucking awesome game that I still love to this day here 20 years later, you know what I mean?
Right, he's somebody that you respect.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, that was kind of fun, but as we go through it and we're interviewing, you know, like famous people and celebrities and just like entrepreneurs and like all these cool people, one thing I don't want to happen is like it becomes just me peppering them with questions like I was Barbara Walters or some shit. Like, right. I find that so lame. Like,
yeah, like, have you seen I was telling you about Chronicon episode 420?
Yeah, you were saying something about
Doug Benson. Yeah. So he's in a hotel, and on Twitter this guy is like, hey, I'm in your hotel, I do a podcast, do you want to stop by for a quick interview? And he's like, well, the cameras are rolling, so let's do it. Mm-hmm. And so he goes, this guy's is actually a different hotel, but he ends up in the guy's room. He doesn't know the guy. He's just, okay, spontaneously do a podcast. And he's asking all the standard bullshit questions.
Yeah.
You know, and you could tell it was like a very kind of awkward interview.
Yeah, yeah.
But we just want to we just want to have conversations.
Yeah, like my process is I have like key points that I want to hit But other than that, I don't write questions at all. I spend more time watching the time to respect the time that our guests have agreed to give us than I do reading actual questions.
Right.
Like on my computer, you would just see like a bullet list of maybe 4 or 5 things. And other than that, I just go off the top of my head and just try to keep up a good conversation because I'm not fucking Barbara Walters. You know, I understand that I'm a podcaster. You know, like we're two nobodies who do this for absolutely free. It's not like we're creating some sort of production package for like a current affair or anything like that.
Right.
You know,
and we're just trying to be a vehicle for people that we think are cool and respect to get their shit out to our mediocre fan base.
Yeah. Hey, like I said, you know, I only talk to people that you or I give a shit about. I wouldn't talk to Brad Pitt because I don't give a fuck about Brad Pitt. I really couldn't even imagine.
I would talk to Brad Pitt though. You always mention Brad Pitt, but he's one of those actors that I think's done enough cool shit to talk about. Not the heartthrob leading man, but he does like kooky side shit too, which is pretty cool.
I think I only mentioned Brad Pitt because I'm so far out of the loop on most things. He's the only like big time actor that comes to my head when I think of somebody who would be universally famous. Like he's the first one that pops in. Plus, he's
Brad Pitt, man.
Plus, I'm still bitter about World War Z.
Maybe we can do an episode about that another time.
It's not a good movie.
Oh, it's awesome.
It would be awesome if it wasn't World War Z. Like, have you read the book?
No, see, you know these things, Walking Dead, stuff like that, you know.
The book, though, it's not even like they strayed away from the source material. The book isn't the story of one guy surviving the apocalypse. It's a history book. So it's like a fictional history book with interviews and military documents from the survivors that was written after. It's basically the oral history.
You're saying that they should have got Ken Burns to do World War Z.
I don't know who Ken Burns is.
He does those PBS documentaries.
Oh yes, no, seriously, that would be awesome. Or like if they did
like with that style, like if you're saying that's the style that the book is going for,
right?
It's like a World War II book.
The book actually takes place after the war, and it's a series of oral history from people who survived the zombie apocalypse. So like every chapter is another person's story and how they survived, and then it's all It's all loosely tied together with how it started and how it ended, right? And then World War Z, the movie, it's Brad Pitt is fucking Superman and avoids quick moving zombies. That's pretty much it.
By injecting himself with the virus.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
I don't believe that happened in the book at all. It's fucking dumb.
Well, that's not how it really happened anyway.
Right, yeah. I mean, never forget. Zombie apocalypse. Never forget.
ZP015.
And now an excerpt from the Book of Things Dave Doesn't Care About.
Anything any political candidate has to say about anything until they actually take office and start doing things.
This was an excerpt from the Book of Things Dave Doesn't Care About.
You're listening to Nothing Important.
Oh, God.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see, I would have never figured that out.
Yeah, it's been smooth so far.
If you're good with technical stuff at all, I commend you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I actually went to school for this stuff, so.
Oh, right on.
Well, you know what? You know what, Mel? This is actually par for the course because if there's one thing we do almost every episode is hang up on the person who's our guest.
That's great. Yeah.
We have literally hung up on just about everybody from like Bald Bryan to Patrick Fabian. We have literally hung up on every single guest trying to figure out how to make it work.
Well, yeah, they're all very nice people. I'm sure they understood.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a real treat. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it had something to the sauce, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
yeah.
We won't keep you too long, but we'll just jump into it and have some fun. And if you don't mind, I actually have some questions from the Better Call Saul subreddit.
Oh, okay, cool.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, on the Somewhat Important Hotline, he plays Jimmy McGill's buddy Marco on Better Call Saul and is currently playing Todd on Fox's The Last Man on Earth. Mel Rodriguez. Mel, thank you for coming on our little podcast experiment.
It's my pleasure, guys. Absolutely. So it's good to be here.
We're so glad to have you. I got to be honest. Somehow, early on when we first started, It's Saul Goodman, I would always complain because we only had like 50 Twitter followers, and now we have like 11,000 or something like that. And I was scrolling down and I saw you, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm totally going to direct message him.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, wow, this is great. Yeah, no, and what was it, a few days ago? Yeah, we got to talking on the direct message, and I still don't know how that works. I'm still trying to figure out Twitter. But I got your message, and you were like, would you like to come on? And I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it.
Absolutely. Well, we're glad to have you. Dave and I are big fans of Better Call Saul, and the beauty of your character Marco is you've played it so well, and you've made such a huge impact for having relatively limited screen time on that show.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, I was really excited to get that call that I got. Just to have been part of Saul's journey, and becoming who the guy he became. Part of his character development was just so cool. I remember telling my wife, like, because it was super secret, so I couldn't tell anybody anything about anything really. And I remember reading the scripts and telling my wife, like, I'm the reason Saul wears his pinky ring,
Yeah.
And that's my pinky ring. I gave it to him. He gets it from me, and I just thought that was really, really cool. I love the way they're, developing Saul and letting us know he was such an interesting character in Breaking Bad, and just
Absolutely.
to see him become, what we get to see why he becomes the guy he becomes is really cool.
Right, and now you're such a huge part of that. Was it weird? Was it weird for you knowing that like you would have really limited screen time, but but you're such an integral part of the story? Like, did that put any pressure on you to perform, or? Well,
I found out I had gotten cast, I think maybe a week before we actually started shooting. So,
wow.
And I didn't have really much information at all, except that I was a really big fan of Breaking Bad, so I'd seen that like twice.
Mm-hmm.
And but I got these scripts about a week before, and I knew he was from Cicero, and I thought, man, I've got to do, he's got to have a Cicero accent. I'd never done Cicero before, but I had kind of played around with Chicago a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And they, and so, I wanted it to be authentic. And so I called up a couple of friends. Like I was telling you earlier, my dad lived in Hammond, and he used to go to Chicago all the time. So, and then Bob helped me with that too. But it was just, it felt like we really crammed a lot into, that small amount of time that we did have, and I just, I love these guys and respect them so much. I just really knew I had to bring my, my A game. So I did my best.
Yeah. And you totally did. The great thing about your character is, part of the fun of Better Call Saul is that we know how it ends up. And so
right, yeah.
So Dave and I, we always push our podcast as we're not like the analytical, let's analyze everything. We're kind of like everybody's buddy on the couch, where we just like to give like, theories off the top of our heads and such. And I remember when we saw your character, we're like, oh man, this is awesome. Like this guy's kick ass, and they're doing the flashbacks. There's gonna be more shenanigans, I guess you could say, with this guy. And then no, they really gave us kind of all we needed, but we wanted more.
Oh yeah, me too, man. I'll tell you, it was just such a good time, and we shoot all that stuff out there in Albuquerque, and those guys are so, I just can't tell you. Like I've worked with a lot of crews, and they're just this incredibly well-oiled machine, just all around. And so it was just really, really cool to be a part of, and to be a part of, like, I really, like, Breaking Bad was one of my favorite shows. That Saul was one of my favorite characters. Mm-hmm. When I heard this television show was happening, just as a fan, I was thrilled. So to get the gig was just like,
It's been a pretty common sentiment amongst their interviews is that, for one, like, everybody was a fan of the show and then, got on Better Call Saul, and everybody really appreciates the production and how the crew runs and the way they do things, the way the auditions are run seems to be a little different, and like everybody's got great stories about it.
It is, yeah. Going into the audition, they didn't. I didn't even get. Usually you'll get copy, and they're very, very. They were very, very secretive about this copy. They were like all watermarked with your name, and they had all these like codes on them, so that you couldn't copy it. And like once you got the email, like self-destructed and all this stuff. And I mean, really, they were really, really careful about leaking stuff. And then I actually ended up finding out that the sides we got for the audition weren't even part of the show. They read very much kind of like almost like I don't know if you guys are familiar with David Mamet's American Buffalo, that play.
No.
But they took place in like a pawn shop, and they were, it had to do with this coin dealer and these two guys being kind of like, on the hustle. But it wasn't, it wasn't necessarily Marco, and it was completely different. It was just a scene,
Was it
from that? What's that?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Was it similar to like the coin scene in the second episode where they were?
It was a little of that, but they weren't even. They weren't in a bar pulling that hustle there. They weren't. Mm-hmm. They weren't. They were in a pawn shop.
Yeah.
So they didn't want. They didn't want to give anything away. And so that bar scene, by the way, that bar scene was just one of the most fun. We were at this old kind of German bar in it looked very, very Chicago, actually, in little Albuquerque. And we were in that bar doing that coin scene for, God, I think we were in there for 4 days.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Dave and I kind of laughed about that too. Where we're from, we have a bar. I'm not going to say the name because I personally don't really care for the guy, but totally a bar where it's all like just an obnoxious number of fluorescent beer advertisements and paneling all over the walls.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely.
So the attention to detail was perfect.
Drinking old style, which was pretty, like, they were pretty, yeah. So we were, like, keeping that, they are very true to keeping it true,
Absolutely. We really love the first scene. Two things stuck out with us with the first scene where you guys pulled the first scam on Stewie. Yeah. And first we were laughing because you were getting poked with a stick, because at the time we didn't know whether or not you were alive or not. And
yeah.
And I think Dave even talked about that. Like, what's the first thing you do when you come across a dead body? You get, poke him with a stick.
He's alive. Yeah, totally. Absolutely. And we were joking about that on set.
Yeah, it's so great. And then when you started, when it was, your character, when Marco was actually just kind of, supposed to be in a haze, and he started calling them buttholes.
Yeah. And I think that was the thing too. Me and Bob talked about that. Is that I think Marco got a real kick out of getting an opportunity to act. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
These guys, it was so much fun, man, because they go back, they're best buddies. And I feel like, on some level, obviously not like hustling like they did, but I had, friends that we pull pranks and stuff like that. And like, just afterwards, like sit down and kind of reminisce about like this and that. And I think the two of them were just, Marco especially was really proud that they were able to pull that scam off,
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's too. It's like, I mean, a lot has to go right for that scam to work.
Right.
If you think about it, you dissect it and stuff. And I remember talking with Peter Gould, like, what if the dude doesn't see the cash on the floor? You know what I mean? What if he misses seeing my legs? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The guy, like really a lot has to go right for that thing to go right,
Totally. It was so well played. I almost made it my mission I almost made it my mission for like 2 weeks after to bring back butthole, because like after you get out of like 8th grade, like you graduate to like asshole or cocksucker or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Like, people don't call each other buttholes enough. So, like,
no, they really don't. No. And I feel kind of grateful that we were able to kind of bring that back in a way. And I remember the next day. It's funny with Twitter, you get, as you guys know, like you'll do your show and probably get responses immediately on Twitter. And
right,
butthole was all over Twitter.
Actually, I was kind of teasing. I was kind of teasing the fact that we were going to record with you today, and I wanted to put on Twitter like, "Hey, you buttholes, recording with a special guest, new show coming soon." But then I'm like, no, it's gonna ruin the surprise because They'll be like, oh, right, the butthole guy, yeah, right, yeah.
and it's funny, I've actually been approached on the street and said, "You're the butthole guy."
Like Seinfeld, and you're the ass man.
Yeah, you're the asshole. Yeah.
Well, I think it's just a testament to how you played the character, because what works so well is, I mean, it at its base, I mean, it's a really funny scene with a lot of, like the poking with the stick and the totally immature use of pejoratives and stuff like that. But like with the tone and the kind of juvenile humor of it all, and it is just such a great scene. And I think that's why a lot of people, really kind of fell in love with the character, because like everybody has a buddy like that, where like even when you're even the most serious moments, you're still have these stupid little inside jokes, or if you're trying to pull something, you'll do something just to kind of aggravate your buddy a little bit, even when it's inappropriate. And like,
absolutely.
I mean, hell, me and Dave have made 2 podcasts based around that thing.
Yeah. I mean, sure. I mean, that's, and I think that's the thing. I think that's kind of, which I was really proud and honored to be able to do, was, is that, I'm kind of one of those guys in the story that is, Marco's one of these guys in the story that's responsible for, Saul kind of from becoming like a kid to becoming a man,
right.
In a lot of ways. He's that kind of transition point. And then, and him making that decision to, it's interesting. What I love that about Vincent and Peter is that they're really into these character driven stories, and what a man is made of, man or woman is made of, really,
right.
And we really get an opportunity to see that with Saul. I was talking to somebody earlier, like, I think if The Godfather were around today and Francis Ford Coppola was doing that, he might do it on Netflix or AMC or something nowadays. We get an opportunity to have an entire season about, Sonny Corleone, which would have been fucking awesome,
Right, yeah.
Sorry, excuse my language.
No,
you can say whatever you want. Yeah, that's cool.
Or you get an opportunity to see like all these great characters, like who was that character? Who I love so much. He shows up and is talking to Marlon Brando. Luke Brott,
Oh yeah, Lucas Brott.
The whole season about Luke Brott, where he sleeps and what he's about, like what made him become a killer, and what these things that make people tick. And that's the really great thing about these guys, is they write so dimensional,
Totally.
Right. Well, and their show, like the whole point of every show that they're the Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, the character development is the show. Like they're Breaking Bad.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And those are the things I grew up watching, and they're happening on TV, and they're these big, like 20-course meals now rather than just a snack. Not that The Godfather was a snack at all. That was a meal,
Mm-hmm.
But then, there are all these other, chapters, which is just so cool, I mean, it really is like you've had just the right amount. Like you get a script like that, and it's like all you got to do is dance. It's like you've got the greatest amount, you've got the perfect amount of booze in your system, and your favorite song comes on, and you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and you just you know exactly what to do. Instinct takes over. So
right, I totally know how you feel. You know, I get like 6 or 7 beers in me, and if Hold On by Wilson Phillips comes on at the bar, I am rocking that shit out.
Wilson Phillips.
It's time to get on that dance floor, dude.
Right on. Dave will attest. Dave?
Yeah, you're the reason I know how to play that song on guitar. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Well, kind of touching on that note, Mel, I'm going to start with a couple of questions from the folks over at the subreddit for Better Call Saul, if you don't mind.
Sure. Let's do it.
Okay, awesome. MJ Fleck says, how bittersweet was it to be able to play such a great character knowing that his time on the show had to be limited?
Incredibly bittersweet, you know, and we all, it's funny because we had such a good time that the running joke on set was, you know, how these guys can write themselves out of anything. You know, how could they possibly maybe even write themselves out of Marco being dead?
Right, yeah. It's the long con.
Yeah, right. It's the long con. Yeah, absolutely. So it was incredible. You know, I knew, you know, I've got basically, you know, a couple episodes and that's it. But so it was just a matter of kind of just cherishing it for what it is. And if Marco does, you know, come back at some point, that'll just be, you know, extra gravy. You know?
It's not entirely impossible since, I mean, the whole show was technically a flashback, but Marco's story is all told in flashback, so they can jump around.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it totally could happen, and that would be really great. You know, so we did we talked about that on the Better Call Saul podcast where they were that other, what's that podcast that the guys do? I forgot what is it called? Better Call Saul, or is it?
Yeah, Better Call Saul Insider.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And Vince and Peter were on, and they said, we really want to have you back. They obviously aren't going to say anything, but you know, I mean, you know, you remember in Breaking Bad, those situations they write themselves out of. They're the kings of that. So you never know.
Yeah,
you never know.
Right.
Yeah, and he certainly could appear again in a flashback. So
absolutely. Reddit user Edgar Devine kind of brings that up. They say, you know, do you think we'll see any more of Marco in any more flashbacks?
I hope so, man. I have such a good time working on that thing. I really hope so. So I don't know, but that's the answer to that. But I'd really love to come back anytime.
Yeah, you know, I think pretty much everybody would welcome it. Like I said, it was such, in the grand scheme of the 13 episodes of the first season, it was such a limited amount of screen time, but it was just one of those things. Like as soon as you were on and you played your parts, everybody's like, "Oh, that guy's fucking awesome." Like we need
well,
more
ask
Marco.
for it. You know, I mean, those of you ask for it. If you want, you know, tell people ask for more. I'll be there. I promise.
We'll start a campaign. Twitter campaign.
We'll do the best we can.
Right
Becca Orla, I think her screen name is, or his screen name is, says he wanted to let you know that you did a brilliant job as Marco, and he was a brilliant character, and they would like you to explain what a dry standpipe is.
A dry standpipe. Well, you know, we were looking into that, and I think the standpipe is actually the one that sticks up and actually shoots the water. Like, it's got a, from what I understand, you know, it literally looks kind of like a pipe coming out of the ground rather than what you see with the hydrants. You know what I mean? Yeah, you've seen those before, haven't you?
Actually, in my professional life, I actually have to deal with them and took some training on them. So, so I actually
shed some light on it. What? So is that what a standpipe is? Those pipes that kind of stick out of the ground?
Yeah, absolutely. When you have high-rise buildings or like multi-tiered buildings, the standpipe is where there's an alternate water source for the fire supply should something happen to the main water source. So it like supplies. It calls it a standpipe because it goes upright through the middle of the building and it supplies water to the main fire extinguishers and such.
Boom, nailed it.
There you go.
That's it. Yeah. That's what we had heard. You said it better than I could.
And then Mel, the most important question is, what is your favorite frozen pizza?
My favorite frozen pizza? Oh, geez. Let's see. You know, I could go for a Red Baron sometimes, just kind of
right on. Okay,
be simple, you know, or a Tombstone.
Hell
I gotta
yeah.
tell you, I'm gonna get a lot of like shit for this, but Chicago deep dish is my favorite. If I could get like Geno's delivered,
Oh.
which I understand you can, and I might. Deep dish is my favorite. I mean, it's the best. I tell you what, it's almost not even pizza. What's that?
Next time you're in Chicago, I got a place for you.
Yes.
So next time you're up here, I got a place for you. Hit me up on Twitter or over the phone or whatever, and I'll take you out for some pizza.
I will take you up on that. Absolutely.
Yeah, please.
You better call
Please
me,
do.
because if it's the place we went to last time, I'll drive up for that too.
Yep. I'll
Actually, I
bring
heard
Dave along too.
I heard that Geno's is doing frozen pizzas now.
I heard.
Yeah.
We don't have them in the stores out here. Also, Trader Joe's has got a pretty. You guys have Trader Joe's out there?
We do. Everybody talks about Trader Joe's frozen pizza. I think the entire cast of Better Call Saul eats Trader Joe's frozen pizza.
Yeah, well, they're really good. I mean, they're kind of gourmetish, you know. They're like truffle and cheese and stuff like that, but they've got a good sausage. It's pretty great.
Awesome. Well, Mel, thank you so much for coming on the show. Marco, I hope we see more of them. And absolutely all the best of luck on The Last Man on Earth and all the other projects you got going on.
Thanks so much, guys. Yeah, I really appreciate it. And one, if you don't mind me plugging Getting On HBO.
Oh yeah, please do.
We'll be back next year. It's starting in November. This year starting in November, and it needs a little love. But thank you guys for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. And it was fun. Oh, thank you. Sometime. All right.
Yes.
Be sure to follow Nothing Important online at nothingimportantpodcast.com. Find us on iTunes, on Twitter at NotImportantPC, and you can also find us on Facebook. Nothing Important is recorded with help from Third City Sound in Joliet, Illinois. Thanks for being awesome.